Theology, personal theology, is a developing thing amongst all of us. And in the past year, one thing that's developed for me is I've come to see Advent as possibly our most significant time together as a community. Are you ready? Don't let your mind answer that question automatically. With a yes, with a no, with a what is he talking about? Just rest with that question. Are you ready? Last month I went to a Christian Educators Conference in Buffalo, Minnesota. It was 3 days in lovely Buffalo, Minnesota. And I know what you're thinking. Glamour spot, free coffee, casserole. Tom, you're on a junket. That's the kind of stuff that gets you on an expose in the news. I drank the coffee. I got a free pen, I'll admit it. But I'm glad I went. Because as I was traveling deep, deep into the jungle of outstate Minnesota towards Buffalo, I came across a disused storefront. And the store, it was completely empty except for the parting words, I assume, of the store owner. It had painted on the glass, "He is coming. Are you ready?" Now, in the tradition I was raised, mixed with probably a lot of personal insecurity, I've never heard "He is coming, are you ready?" as anything other than a vaguely threatening notion. I feel like if Jesus were to come today, I would be found short. It wouldn't go well for Tom Ewald. And immediately, I dismissed this. But it was an unusual day. Because as I drove along, I was feeling down. I make the same mistake that many of you do, and I watch the news. And for centuries, for millennia, as Jesus promised, there are and always have been problems. This is our work, to address the needs of others, to make this world habitable for others, to share God's love with others. But I wasn't disturbed by the problems. What I was disturbed by was the tone of the discourse. On a political level, on a social level. Why is it that if we are truly good people, and I believe that we are truly good people, why is it that we must make monsters of one another in our efforts to bring peace, shelter, food to other people? The Advent story, as we heard it today, is not a benign, quaint story. Some writers refer to this as the little apocalypse, with its references to darkened suns, moons that do not give lights, stars falling from heaven, and powers in the heavens being shaken. Is our problem beyond the fact that our world hurts, the fact that our hearts need a little apocalypse? Are you ready? Don't let your mind fill in the answer to that question just yet with a yes, a no, or what is Tom talking about. Just sit with that question. Is there something that God needs to do in your heart to change how you address everything going on in this world, how you greet one another, how you live with one another, how you cooperate with one another? Apocalyptic language is scary. I don't like the idea of the world coming to an end. I trust you don't feel the same, or do feel the same. But if you look at Isaiah chapter 64, it reframes the idea of apocalyptic language from something that's done to us to something that we invite God to do. Not as a means of punishing people, but because we need God as much now as we've ever needed God. Isaiah 64, "Oh, that you would tear open the heavens and come down, so that the mountains would quake at your presence. Come, God." Psalm 80, "Stir up your might and come to save us. Restore us, O God. Let your face shine, that we may be saved." Break into our world, God, not in a way that's terrifying, not in a way that is punitive, but in a way that's restorative. Break us from our slumber, from our sleepwalking through life. Perform something new. Let us claim the promise, "Behold, I do something new." And let us claim it for our individual hearts, because I can't change each of you. You can't change other people. We can only change ourselves. Are you ready for God to do something new in your heart this season? Don't answer that question now. Peter Kingsley is an expert in pre-Socratic Greek philosophy. But aren't we all? And he says this notion of asking questions is one that we take for granted. We ask questions of each other. We ask questions of ourselves. But we never ask questions to which we don't already know the answer. We ask questions, and then we reflexively fill ourselves with answers. And he said a wonderful thing. He says questions have been domesticated. This art of questioning has been domesticated. And it's merely a prompting. If I ask a question of myself, I'm just looking for the information I already have. If I'm asking a question of you, I'm asking for information that I want. I'm going to quote him directly, because a friend of mine who introduced me to this particular pre-Socratic Greek philosopher, had a beautiful way of stating this challenge that I offer to you during this Advent season, this time of our most important work together. And he says, are you willing to ask a question of others or of yourself and have no idea what the answer will be? Are you willing to ask a question and be prepared for the answer to just drop you off the map of everything you are familiar with? Talking to the children up here, their answer to what's next was Christmas. And they're right. But really, Advent is the forest we need to walk through. We can light these candles because it's part of the church calendar. Each week we can have a theme because it's part of the church calendar. But is this the year that something happens? That little apocalypse occurs in your heart and you break free from the sleepwalking through a church season, if that's your inclination. I preach to myself on this one. Can it mean something more? Can I emerge changed? Can you allow the kind of uncertainty about the questions that are raised about a child born into this world to bring apocalyptic change? Can you allow the uncertainty that creates in your heart that fallow ground that's ready to receive whatever it is God will say to you during this season? We can't change the church calendar. And it's not a bad thing that we need to change. But we can change the inclinations of our hearts during that time. Are you ready? Amen.